Good evening, everyone. 21st of March, 2021. This is like the 6th or 7th UK table football show. I've already lost count. If you don't know me, I'm Will Hawkes, doing stuff for the British Football Association and your host for tonight. If you're watching, let us know you're out there and we can chat. We are live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. It's our first time we've connected ourselves to YouTube. And these things, of course, some of you aren't watching it live. Most people watching this are going to be seeing it sometime in the week when they find it in a newsletter or it comes out in Facebook or something. So anyway, do let us know. Put a message in the YouTube chat or in the Facebook chat to tell us who's out there so we can give you a shout out. I can see we've got 6 people. I'm expecting to get kind of 15, 20 in the end, but you might remember we have people watching, not just in the UK. Usually we have people from all around the world with us. Right. So we've got a great show ahead of us. We've got 2 fantastic guests. I'm really looking forward to hearing their foosball stories. I'm just going to start by telling you what we were doing this time last week. We had, some of you might have been there, we had the British Football Association annual general meeting, which is like, you know, for you governance freaks, that's how we roll, right? In the UK, we love meetings. So it's a thing we have to do every year where we all come together and just affirm who we are and what we're trying to do. So we did quite a lot of cool things because, as you all know well, we haven't played table football for 12 months because we're stuck at home. So we've all had 12 months dreaming of what it's going to be like when the pandemic's done and we can get rolling again. So we together agreed a load of stuff we're going to do. So the first thing we agreed is actually we are here, British Football Association, to grow table football in the UK. You know, we're not just a gang of people having our own little cliquey tournaments for no one else. We're going to take this game out to everyone. And we're going to put our energy toward taking it to kids. That means schools. We're going to take it to young people, because not all young people want to be called children. And that means youth centres. We're going to take it to students. That means universities. That means we're going to try and partner with example, British universities and college sport and become the 54th official sport of university sports in the UK. So kids, young people, students, adult learners. I'm an adult learner. I played it when I was a student, but I got really back into it when I was about 35. Think of Kai Jaeger. If any of you know, Kai came back into foosball past the age of 60 in Team GB. So adult learners is really important. People looking for a new hobby. And the 5th one is disabled people. And we made a presentation recently to a disabled sport organisation in the UK who loved how accessible our game is. And they've asked us to go back and present more to all the disabled sport organisations about table soccer, which is really cool. 14 people out there. Hi, guys. We'll do shout-outs in a minute. So what else did we do in our annual general meeting? We really talked a lot about how we're going to grow this game through clubs, which is why we've got our guest with us today to talk about clubs. We reaffirmed that we're a multi-table, right? You know, in France, it's Bonzini. In Germany, it's Leonhardt. In USA, it's Tornado. All over Asia, it's Fireball. In the UK, we've done tournaments on 11 different tables. So we're kind of multi-table. No, we do Tornadoes and Garlandos, but we've done Bonzini and we've done Leonhardt. So we just reaffirmed ourselves as being multi-table. And we also did a kind of rubber stamp thing that says, yes, in principle, we're probably going to change the legal structure of the BFA, which is a bit boring, but we agreed to do that. So that's my, just so you know, sign up for the BFA newsletter if you're not doing that. Get involved. The most cool thing we did actually was everyone at the meeting kind of walked away saying, I'm up for leading this thing. We've got people. I was talking yesterday to our regional reps for the south of England, the southwest of England. I'm speaking to a guy tomorrow who's going to be the BFA lead, all being well, for Scotland. I've got someone lined up for Northern Ireland. We've got, so for another time, but we've got a load of talented people going to be working together to take the game out. That's my little bit on the AGM, and you know, you'll hear more. 19 people now. Let's do some shout outs. So who's out there? Again, 20 people. Let us know if you're watching. Put a comment. Hi, Reese Roberts. Reese is getting into this. Is your first live show of the day. I know Reese is going to be listening to the Foos Talk Live at 2 o'clock in the morning. Mike Russell. Hi, Mike. How you doing in Chester? Jeremy Holloway. Great to see you, Jeremy. Hope you're doing well. We've got some likes as well. Who's giving us some likes? I can see that. Buffalo Foosball, Matt McCrory. The Anchor Steam Bar, the best buffalo wings in the world. I went there on my honeymoon. Hi, Matt. Matt and I, you might not remember, we met at the Turin World Cup and played some Tornado together, some pickup Tornado. Leonhardt. It was really cool. So nice to see you, Matt. Yeah, other guys watching, let us know who's out there. Right. My next pluggy stuff is we are, of course, a membership organization, and we're only funded by our members. And if you haven't done your membership, and I put down here underneath, you can see how to pay your membership for the year. You can either do a bank transfer, sort code and account number are there, or you can send the money to PayPal. BFA membership is £10 or more. We'll quite happily take donations of more because we actually need more money to keep us alive. So yeah, if you and by the way, if you like the show, you don't want to be a member, you just want to support us, just frisbee in some money as well. We're really grateful for any support we get. Right, so that's my AGM bit, that's my membership bit. Let's get on with our guests. So I'll let them introduce themselves, but these are the two guys who've known each other for a long time and who kind of decided to start their own foosball clubs, which is really cool. So I'm going to introduce. I didn't say UK Table Football Show with you shortly. I'll get to that in a minute. Right. So I'm going to introduce Adam Horridge and Dave Cleall-Hill. Welcome to the UK Table Football Show, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Will. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. Adam, where are you today?
Right now, I'm in Geneva. I'm in my office because it's a bit more peaceful than being at home where my kids are currently being put to sleep. So I decided to take shelter from the safety of my office, which is just around the corner. So I'm just on the outskirts of Geneva.
And your office is just like another boring insurance company or logistics company. It's nothing like interestingly special or different, I guess.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to work at CERN. So I work at the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva. So, but I don't do any of the exciting scientific stuff. I work on the boring administrative side, but it's still pretty exciting.
I think that's probably a lie. When Adam opens the door behind him, the Large Hadron Collider is there. He's going to fall into it and go 27 miles around in a circle at the speed of light, looking for the Horridge boson, not the Higgs boson. And Dave, where are you today?
I'm in South Manchester. I'm in Chorlton-cum-Hardy, on the edge of Chorlton Meadows, 3 miles out of Manchester city centre.
And you've also got a particle accelerator underneath the floor of where you're sitting, presumably.
Yeah, it's massive. It's the most complex machine ever built.
So, I mean, the first thing, guys, is this the first time you've met, or have you known each other before?
Go on, Dave. I'll let you go first.
We've known each other all of our lives, actually. Our dads worked together in 1980 as school teachers. I was born in 1981, and Adam's about, you're like 6 months younger than me?
No, a bit more than that, Dave. 83 I was born in. You're much older than me.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, okay, right, yeah. So I've known you all my life, but I've no idea how old you are. But yeah, exactly. So but yeah, we've been friends for all of Adam's life, basically, and most of mine.
And where were you friends? Were you friends in Chorlton-cum-Hardy, or you were friends in Geneva, or you were in somewhere else?
Well, I've always lived in Manchester, and Adam's from Bolton, so our dads worked in near Altrincham together. Yeah. So yeah, we sort of to and fro between Bolton and Manchester until Adam left the country, essentially.
I abandoned Dave a few years ago. Yeah, sadly. Yeah. So, there's a lot of pain to come out in this discussion tonight.
I've got my first. Let me get my first picture, Dave. A few years ago, you did an afterglow after a tournament you went to, and you shared this picture of. And ignore the words, but here's Dave. What's this about, Dave? You didn't know Adam at this time.
Yeah,
I took the picture there, Will. I think.
I did know Adam at that time. Yeah. So that's in the south of France, near Montpellier. A place called Galag-le-Montier, and so our families used to sometimes we would be there together on holiday. So me and Adam, basically our sort of first experiences of playing table football was on very old Bonzini tables in the south of France against French people mainly, and yeah, so we sort of learned to play together. Essentially, so Adam could easily have been in that photo on another day or in another year, but he's not in there. But yeah,
I love it. I mean, it's one of the so yeah. I mean, it's a sort of we all start with when did we start playing foosball, and I guess is that you were both playing on Bonzini tables, and that's when you first got into the game?
Exactly, yeah. Week long, well, was it 5-6 week long summer holidays in the south of France every year, and we would just play practically every day. I mean, once we got to like early teens, we were playing it all the time, and then it carried on from there, really.
Yeah, that's correct.
So how did you like rediscover I mean, obviously not always doing football together. How do you kind of get back into it as adults then? What happened?
Well, I think there was definitely a second wave when I started university. So as Dave said, I come from Bolton and I went to uni at UMIST, as it was at the time, and there was a glass top Garlando football table in the student union there, or in the local bar in our halls, and that kind of really took on a life of its own for us. We kind of assembled a bit of a ragtag mob, and we were there practically every day, just feeding 50p's into this terrible glass top Garlando table. And that really kind of kicked things on quite a lot. And it was around the same time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. It was maybe a little bit later, more towards the end of the time of uni, maybe 2004, 2005, when there was that kind of fireball push in the UK. There was suddenly a lot of fireball tables put into places, and that also kind of gave a bit of a kickstart.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might have been a little bit later than that. I mean, just to look back on the student union. So this would be like a sort of prototype for Adam later going on to set up the club at CERN, because Adam, with his passion and his enthusiasm, sort of like Pied Piper kind of vibe. So, there's a whole crew of people at Owens Park, students in Manchester, who never ever would have touched that table had it not been for Adam and his keenness for the game. So, we'd have there'd be like groups of like 12 people around the table who were all going mental, purely as a result of Adam's hard work. And on this sort of terrible blocky feet Garlando, that it's like an incredible achievement if you can actually pin the ball is like a miracle. And every now and then you do it, and you feel like you've really done something good. But yeah, so there's a lot of hard work in that, and I think that's a good few years before the fireball thing.
Yeah.
Were you sort of connected with the UK football scene, because there's a lot going on in the mid 2000s, or were you just doing your own thing?
Well, I was thinking a bit about this, Dave, and again, jump in if I say anything wrong here. But even though we were like really enjoying it and clearly, we were getting better at the time, we never really took the full leap into getting involved with like the Rainbows setup at the time in Manchester. We maybe went once or twice or something in that period to see what was going on, and that was clearly a level way beyond what we were doing at the time. But we never really kind of pushed on with it from there, or not until several years later, really.
I mean, we at that point, I remember going to Rainbows a lot to play snooker, and running into those guys, and just as sort of as Bonzini players who were fairly handy, and sort of bar players in France, running into like serious players in Rainbows playing Tornado, and I'm guessing it's going to be people like probably like Les Jones, Benj McHugh, those kind of guys. I mean, this is years before I actually met those guys and knew who they were. But like, we would have played against these old boys in Rainbows, and it was pretty disheartening, to go in and like you're trying really hard to execute your pin shot on this table that's like a brand new thing you've never seen before, and then just getting badly beaten. And sort of sent packing really was pretty disheartening. So it was like, there wasn't a lot of, for me personally, I didn't really feel like I wanted to explore table football in the UK. I was just like, that's something maybe I'll just leave behind in France. It was a lot later with a lot more sort of persistence, I suppose, that jump was finally made.
There's a really important point in there, actually, for as we just think about how we bring more and more people. You bring people into your clubs. We haven't really talked about the clubs that you run yet, but that whole thing of getting your backside kicked because it's the wrong table and the skills you've got don't work, and you kind of go back with your tail between your legs and you're like, I'm not going back to that anymore. That's the thing which we've got to be so aware of, because you bring the beginner in. They're the most important person that night. You want them to go home thinking that was the best thing I've ever done. I can't wait to come back next Wednesday and do it again, and not just go. Mike Russell, who's out there, told me he went and played a tournament in Burnley with his mate, and they met the snake shot for the first time, and his mate has never touched a table ever since. So how do we? I guess, Dave, you came back despite having a difficult time on Tornado, but how it's just a thing to think about, really.
It's a fine line as well, though, because at the same time you can take inspiration from it. It depends how it happens. If you see things that kind of blow your mind, then maybe it kind of pulls you further in. But if it's just a total annihilation, then yeah, it can maybe turn you off if you're not careful.
I mean, those guys, but they were friendly guys. They're nice guys. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were like rude to us or whatever. It was just they just kind of saw us coming and sent us on our way. You know what I mean? It's like they were there to play the next game. You know what I mean? It's for them. It's like, right, that's what they're doing. So yeah, I think we definitely learned. I think we learned from that experience going forward, and now. I'm excited to welcome. I've got a few people who are interested in becoming new members of our club. So once we're able to open again, I'm going to be quite careful about how we sort of bring them in and the way that we can. I want to kind of look after them a little bit and make sure they have a nice time. Do you know what I mean?
We haven't properly introduced your clubs, actually. So do you want to tell us a bit about what the clubs are that you run and what your roles are there?
Yep. Do you want me to go first, Dave?
Please do, yeah, man.
Yeah, so mine is CERN Table Football Club. So at CERN, because it's a huge organisation, that there can be up to 10,000 people on the site at any given time. And one thing to say, obviously, is this is all in normal circumstances. Suffice to say, right now everything's kind of mothballed, but normally there's a huge site with a huge infrastructure, and there's already a pretty big network of clubs. All kinds of things, car club, astronomy, any sport you can think of, you name it, they've got it. But they didn't have a table football club, which I was quite surprised about when I started back here in 2014. And I kind of first half jokingly thought about doing it, and then started to think, well, why not? And I had a couple of friends here at the time who had talked about who were keen on playing as well, who said, well, let's just go for it. And so we launched that back in 2017. So CERN Table Football Club. So it happens on the CERN site here, within the premises.
And you are the life president.
I bet I'd be, yeah. I dare anyone to try and take it from my hands. Yeah, we're democratic to a point. Yeah.
And Dave. Is he frozen?
Just to point out as well that Adam also has like an honorary of Manchester Table Football Club. Am I still there?
Yeah, you
hello.
Lost you for a minute or two. Yeah, you find it.
He's gone. No.
Sorry. Hello.
Yeah, it's all good. It's just a bit late. It's okay.
Hello.
Tell us. I know your two clubs are like your allied or sister brother clubs or something.
I can only apologise. Well, yeah. So basically, Adam sent us a P4P table, Ulrich table for Manchester, not long after we opened. So obviously, although he also already had very high status based on historical factors, that sort of like firmly cemented his honorary life role in the eyes of the other members, if that makes sense. So yeah, Manchester Table Football Club, we've been running for 2 years, and essentially the point of it is to operate kind of as a training centre, because a number of our members like to go and play in tournaments abroad on different tables. So when Rainbow Snooker Club was going to close down sometime before that, we knew it was coming, and a few of us talked about what we wanted to do next, which was to have a place that was essentially for us that we were kind of in complete control of, sort of running with like a membership scheme. And all that kind of thing. So yeah, we're sort of fairly serious, and obviously with what's happened in the last year, we've not been able to bring any new members in, and play has been sporadic at best for us. So we're looking forward to bringing some new people in and actually having a proper go at running the club in the way that it was sort of meant to be done from the start. So yeah, I'm very excited about it.
And how many tables have you got in your clubs, guys? And what kind of tables do you have?
Well, here we've got 4. So we've got them spread around a little bit. So there's one main central kind of restaurant canteen, which is a big social hub for the site. Because again, coming back to the number of people at CERN and the kinds of people who are working here, there's a huge student scientist population here, and there's people come in from all over the world, rotating all the time. So it's a real kind of like steady churn of people. So thankfully, we've got the main bases in the main restaurant where people, again, under normal circumstances, hang out at the weekends and everything. It's a really nice place. We've got a Tornado Leonard in that location. And then on another part of the same site, we've got a Roberto Sport Revolution, which was kind of an effort to try and nod to the Italian crowd without getting a Garlando, which there were already a few of relatively close by, so for a bit of variety. And then we've got a Bonzini as well, which is over on the French site, which is about 15 minutes down the road as well. And again, with a nod to the French crowd that are more prevalent over there. So we've got 4 tables.
Nice. We have 5 tables. So we have the P4P, we have a Leonhardt, Garlando, a Bonzini, and Tornado.
Multi-table, I love it. You know, we a week ago here, and you know, we rubber stamped that UK is kind of, it's the reality that if you're in Europe, you know, we travel around. You know, you go to France, you're going to play Bonzini. You go to Germany, you're going to play Leonhardt, and no one's doing Tornado. So we've got this beautiful opportunity to be quite a lead country for Tornado in Europe, at least. So that sounds really nice. I want to come to CERN and visit. I want to come to Wally Range.
Wally Range. Yeah, Wally Range. If you're a Smiths fan, it's referencing a Smiths song called "Miserable Lie." Wally Range. What do we get for our trouble and pain?
I only know William. It was nothing. meet with murder. Reel around the fountain.
Well, you're welcome here anytime you want, Will, as well. Dave and George from Manchester Table Football Club were probably the last people to visit CERN Table Football Club just before the lockdown happened. They were over here for a tournament in the beginning of March last year, weren't you, Dave? It was that first weekend of March.
So weren't we on the last tour of the?
Yeah, you basically got the last tour of the site, pretty much, before everything got shut down.
Me, George, and Adam were on the last tour, so I've got a photo of George at the Large Hadron Collider somewhere. But we went to Geneva last year to play in a P4P, the Geneva Open, and we had a really good time. There's some top players, P4P players. They're pretty serious. I went the year before. I fared slightly better this time, but it was. It's an experience. Like it's so much fun. Those guys, they're proper players. You know what I mean? There's a good foosball community in Geneva.
You were telling me that about the first time you partnered up in a tournament together. Is that right? You won something. Tell us about
that. Adam, do you want to take this one?
Which one are we talking about here, though, Dave? We're talking about the fireball one, because I had another one in mind as well.
Oh, do you know what?
Tell us both. Come on, guys.
So do you know what? Talk about the other one first, because that's a cool story.
The other one first was a bit of a stepping stone one. It was in like a bar in Manchester. There was a table football tournament. Again, this is around the time that I was at uni. I couldn't even tell you what kind of table it was, but the prize was to win the table and a case of Beck's Veer. And by the end of the tournament, the table was falling apart. It was absolute garbage.
Can we just step in there and say that this tournament went on for several weeks? So it was every Wednesday night for something like 6 weeks or 4 weeks. I don't know.
It was pretty heavy duty. Yeah,
required to win this tournament.
Yeah, and we did, and we won the table, and it was such a bad table, and as I say, it was falling apart that we never even got it. We never even got a phone call about having it delivered afterwards, and I don't think we were really too fussed about it.
No, well, I think it wasn't long after that we drove down to Kent to get that Bonzini. Can't have been too long after that. I mean, hard, the timeline is all confused. Yeah. But, we drove down to Kent to pick up a Bonzini for Adam to Margate there and back in the day, which was sort of it's a football journey. Do you know what I mean? It's another thing that you do because you love it. The other tournament you're talking about, the Fireball tournament, Willie, in Eccles, I believe, the European Fireball Open. You were telling me you played in that one. How did that go for you guys? We played together in we won the beginners doubles. And then it was Adam against me in the final of beginner singles, and Adam took that one.
Yeah, that's right.
Not the first or the last time that he's beaten me, but fair play.
And it was a big tournament that though. I can't remember exactly how many people, but there were a lot of tables there. That was the first big tournament I ever went to in my life, really, and it was because Sprademan played, didn't he? Sprademan was there.
Yeah, and it was like maybe the first. I want to say it's like the first time that I sort of really remember experiencing the snake shot. Like I don't know, like whether we'd seen that at Rainbows before or not, but it felt particularly brutal. And you're just like, how do I deal with this? It was it was a punishment that I would describe that as. I mean,
that was was my first big tournament I went to in the UK. I'd been overseas, and yeah, Jim Stevens came over. It. Tony Spain was there. About 130 people, probably about 16 tables. And a lot of people came over from Europe for it as well. And yeah, it's funny how many people were there who, like, you know, we met later on, and we were all there X years beforehand. You know, at a tournament, you don't manage to meet everyone, and slowly we all work our way through the foosball family and get to know each other.
Yeah, I think we felt a bit dirty and used afterwards, so we just wanted to get out there as quick as we can. You know what I mean? We didn't really chat to anyone. We went and got a curry and went home.
I don't know. I had my 2 little trophies. I was pretty happy, to be honest.
Yeah, fair play.
So,
I don't know
one of my questions I always like to know people, what kind of players are you, right? If I'm playing Adam, if I'm playing Adam and Dave together, you know, what describe your game? What's Adam's game like? What's Dave? Maybe describe each other's game. How about that?
Okay, well, I can take Dave first, but the problem with Dave is that he seems to have changed his game quite a lot since I was last with him in the UK. So, growing up, I was a defender, he was the attacker, and you know, a pretty vicious front pin on a Bonzini, and particularly good at, you know, pinning quickly and getting his shot away very quickly. Stick with it, Dave. I'm sure you'll drift back in, mate. And then yeah, I was a defender, so I've got a pretty nice push shot. That's probably the only shot I've got, really, and a nice back pin. And then, yeah, we work pretty well in tandem. But then I think as we've got older, we've kind of switched positions a little bit now. And Dave seems to be becoming more of a defender, and I'm enjoying myself up front a bit more. So it's a bit of a role reversal. You back with us, Dave?
I think he's there. Are you there, Dave?
Yeah, I mean that sort of hello.
Yeah, you're there. Just a bit behind. Tell us a bit about Adam's game. He's gone. When you're back, tell us about Adam's game. In the meanwhile, anyone who's got a back pin, I got respect for it. I played once Chris Marks, and I just set up my back pin, and Chris Marks said, "Hey, it's not 1982," and that's what I think about the back pin. That's just so cool.
That's a nice one, but yeah, I haven't got very much finesse though. I mean, I've got a completely non-existent 5-bar, despite my best efforts. But I keep plugging away at it, but I just never seem to get any better, unfortunately.
Dave, we can hear you. Go on, tell us about Adam's game.
Hello, yeah, Adam's got a pretty sweet push shot, really. Yeah, he used to send them in pretty hard from the back, but Adam now, I think, yeah, his 3-bar has come on a lot. I heard you saying about your 5-bar, yeah. Needs a bit of work. I was playing more at the back, but I've started in the last year because my 5-bar, I worked a lot on my 5-bar, so I'm starting to feel more comfortable up front as well now. But then, you know, the players in our club are, you know, we've got some top players, so it's, you know, normally I suppose I'm going to find myself at the back, I would think, really, you know, if we go and compete somewhere.
So what's your foosball achievement on the table? You know, both of you, you're most like, this is the one I'm most proud of. This is my story. This is my moment. I lie in bed at night. I'm like, that was a cool day when I did that. Can you think of what that might be?
Go on, Dave. I'll let you go first. Because I to be perfectly honest, I mean, I talk about my strengths and shots and the like, but I'm a pretty limited player at the end of the day, so there aren't too many glory moments. I think that time at the 5-All Open was a pretty good one. But aside from that, I think it's more the stuff with the club that I'm proud of rather than the specific highlights on the table itself.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I played with Vesti, Blagavesta Garova, in London at the Tornado competition, and I didn't have a partner, so everyone I went down with was all partnered up, and I went on my own. And then I was just I went to the desk and I told whoever was there that, you know, I'm looking for a partner. And then 5 minutes later, they're like, "Oh, Dave, come to the desk," and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna play with this girl Vesti," and I was like, "All right, okay, cool." I had no idea who she was. And then, like, George was like, "Man, you bitch, you know, do you know how good she is? She's like won all these championships, blah, blah, blah." So, yeah, we had a pretty good run. Yeah, Dave Zeman and Titch, we saw, you know, we saw them off,
Wow.
and a few other pretty decent teams.
Wow.
Yeah, Dave Zeman was, yeah.
Dave Zeman's out there. Dave, tell us, do you remember that? Dave Z. I know he's watching.
Dave remembers that. Yeah, Dave's tic-tac wasn't really working for him that day, and I dealt pretty well with Dave. But yeah, I was quite proud of that because he's a top player. And then in the next round, we played against Oki Harms and Sven Wansild. And I remember like Tony Spraderman and Rob Ather were watching, and like, you know, they beat us in the end 5-3 in the last game. And like, you know, I'm playing at the back, and at that point, I would say I had fairly limited ability to sometimes to get the ball out. You know, like once they've kind of figured out what the shots are, and again at that point, I couldn't really pass out from the back too good. But yeah, like Vesti was scoring pretty good, and I was stopping everything. The ball was flying out of the table, and I've got Spraderman and Rob watching, and you know what I mean. It just felt like a really special moment, and they beat us. But you know, a couple of things had gone differently. We could easily have beaten them, and then we would have been like, you know, top 10 in that competition or something. So
this is what Dave Zeman's comment. There you go.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really proud of that. You know, me and George played against Twan Hermans and his partner, whose name I forget, at the Leo Worlds, and that was a lot less glorious. So yeah, you know, when you're playing against top players, like I think sometimes it's quite amazing because it's just really nice to be there. And that's something that's really good about our game is like if you go along to tournaments, you can find yourself playing against top players quite easily. Do you know what I mean? And that's really something special. And you got like Spraderman and Rob watching, you just like, you know what I mean? You just feel like really good about it. So yeah, I was very proud of that. And Vesti was lovely. She was really nice, really like nice partner and a really like cool person. Oh. So yeah, I was very proud of that.
That's cool. And I mean, so Sven Wansild is like multi-table world champion. I can't remember which year. Is a phenomenal German.
Those guys kept swapping. Player. They kept swapping, and they were just like they didn't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? And I was stopping them both, man. Like that game could have gone the other way, but you know, I'll get them both in the future. You know,
just gonna do some shout outs to some people who are watching. I know Mike Cohen's out there. I haven't given you a shout out. Hi, Mike. Shout out to Bert Wilkinson, Tony White watching. Hi, Tony. Paul Martin is out there as well. Albert Ando. Albert and I had a great chat yesterday. Albert, I'm going to meet Albert on the table one day. I want to see a push kick. Hi, Albert. Anyone else, if you're watching, we've got 20 people out there. Let us know who's out there. Any questions for our guests, guys? We're talking about how you grow clubs. We're talking about, you know, Adam and Dave's journey in foosball. And Adam, I love it. You know, so your stories are around your club. So tell us before it, Man Arslan. Hi, Man. Might see Man a little bit later as well. Right, Adam, tell us then what you're proud of about CERN TFC. While you talk, I might put some of the films you sent me as well in the background.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, it's what am I most proud of? Well, I think in terms of a single moment, it was probably when we had the Mercia World Cup in 2019. I think we took a team of about 12, or a group of about 12 of us to go and just enjoy that experience and enjoy that weekend. And that was a particular proud moment. Yeah, that's one benefit of his that I get to rip off all the fancy videos that they make for CERN anyway, just for table football purposes. But yeah, so we started back in 2017, and I think maybe unlike Manchester Table Football Club and a lot of the, you know, more kind of I would describe them as serious table football clubs where people are there to play and get better, and you know, they're very serious about the game. The club here is just as much of a social thing as it is actual a table football environment. As I say, it's as much a meeting point for people who have just arrived. You know, they might just want to play a few pickup games here and there from time to time. So there's a real massive range within the group of people that do play here. So we play every Thursday night normally, and because of that mixture, we try and have. We are trying to offer different things for different people as well. So we don't have loads of tournaments, but every summer we do have one big charity tournament, which we've made pretty major contributions to an organization called CERN Society Foundation, which does teacher training programs for teachers in developing countries. So I'm quite proud of the money we've raised for that over the years at these very, very good, fun, enjoyable summer tournaments we have. And then for those of us, the few of us who are more really into the game and play a bit more seriously, we try and have regular link-ups with the clubs that are in Geneva itself, because there's a pretty good scene in Geneva. There's a pretty high standard of player here, and they all play P4P. P4P is the go-to table over here, which is why Dave mentioned before that we got the link with MTFC for a P4P table as well. So for those few who want to play seriously and want to play more regularly and get better at the game, then we try and link up with the local teams as well and get involved there where we can.
We're enjoying your films. These are really cool. And you talked about sending your guys to the Table Football World Cup. One of the things I thought was really interesting is, your clubs are actually a little bit different. So, Dave in Manchester, you've got a load of pro players. You're kind of a high end. It's a training centre. It's for people who are travelling and going to top end tournaments. And then you're thinking about how do you go out and bring in more people. Adam, you're a community club. And I think as we go on, we're going to have more and more community clubs. We're always going to have the training clubs as well, but actually, most people who play football, they just want to play, have a bit of fun on a Thursday night. They don't care about rankings. They don't care about going up and going to national tournaments or anything like that. But sometimes in football land, we're only thinking about, ITSF tournaments and UK Championship and go traveling overseas in Team GB. And it's easy to forget that actually, and for us to grow, we've got to have a load more people doing the sort of stuff you've done, Adam, which is let's just stick it in the canteen and let, when people have arrived in this place, it's a place for people to come together. Because the incredible thing about foosball is it's insanely accessible and it brings people together and it's so sociable.
That's it.
So, you're like, the way you just told your story is that's just a bit of inspiration for all of us watching out there is that's how you do community foosball. And what Dave has talked about is that's how you do training club foosball. And you need both. Because when I'm in the community club and having fun with my mates, but at some point, me and my mate were really into it. And we want to go to Manchester TFC because I want to go and play against, people who are Team GB or whatever and challenge myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even my own personal objective is, of getting better and playing, as much as I can, is different from the objective that I have for the club, because the club, it's a different thing entirely. And if, like we talked about before, if people, come and play and get battered because everyone's playing really, really well and then playing to a really high standard, they'll just stop coming. They won't come the following week. So it's having that kind of blend of what we try and offer them that's really important to keep it going and keep it regular.
And I think, go on, Dave, sorry.
One of the things that we're looking to do, so we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we're trying to sort of give roles to different people in the club who have different strengths. So, we have some players who are great with new players. Someone like George is like, if you ever see George in anywhere where there's a table, he's just like rounding people up to come and play on it. Do you know what I mean? And that sort of thing is amazing. So, we want to be able to have like someone like Man is a great player for like Man is like a great coach, and he always takes the time with players, to really kind of to bring them on and to get the best out of them. So we have different people who have different strengths, and it's about sort of, once we get this, this virus out of the way and we can all kind of get on with things relatively normally, we want to be able to have different elements within the club for different reasons. So we want to be able to train for, if someone wants to go to the Garlando Worlds, they can do that, or the P4P, or if they want to just, get a bunch of them who want to come and have fun. I think George has got a hen party waiting to come down to the club, when we're allowed to do it. I've got a kid's birthday party. We've got all these things that are sort of in the post that we're waiting to do. So, we are looking to do community things. It's just, unfortunately, we haven't been able with the last year, it's kind of got in the way of our progress, but we are looking forward to doing all those things. And from what I've seen, I've been to CERN Table Football Club. I've been to the canteen there on 2 occasions or 3 occasions. And from what I've seen of the community there and the buzz that Adam's got going is really, really cool. Very impressive. And there's lots to be learned from what he's done there.
Adam, we've got a question from one of your members.
Oh dear, here we go. Yeah, this is our best player.
That's the answer to Dave Zeman's question. Dave wants to know who the tops. By the way, before anything else, Katarzyna Majowska, shout out to you. I didn't forget you. So shouting out to Kat. So yeah, who are the top CTFC players? Yannick.
Okay, so Yannick raises an interesting point there. He wants a refund. Now an important policy point we have here at CTFC is you pay a membership fee of 15 francs, which is about 12 quid, and that's a lifetime membership. So, and if Yannick wants a refund for a proportion of his 12 quid for this year, then I'll look into it if he feels shortchanged. But yeah, he's certainly our best player. He's a Belgian guy who has the luxury of 2 tables at home as well, just to keep his eye in over the past 12 months, which has been great. And he's got a mean snake shot and a mean front pin and all sorts. He's a very, very good player. We had one of the guys who set up the club with me, a guy called Andre, Portuguese guy who's very strong as well. He's left in the past 12 months to follow a new opportunity in Ireland. And yeah, we've got a handful of other reasonable players, but in general, as I say, it's more of it's predominantly a social thing rather than a major skill level or pushing ourselves thing. And we have the odd player that will pass through from time to time who will be particularly talented, and then we'll never see them again, or we'll see them again 12 months later, and they'll come over when they're over on the site. So it's you get people coming and going as well.
I like it, as you said, that you've actually got the ladder up. So Adam, when we met in Murcia, I was delighted to have the chance to grab Bernard Salin, who's the president of the Swiss Football Federation, and say, Bernard, Adam, Bernard. And he's, this is my 20th club of the SFF.
Yeah, but it's complicated, though, because we really want to be, but because everything happens on the site here and it's like a secure site, we can't. That's one of our biggest challenges, is that we can't actually welcome people in very easily. It's like, a security nightmare. You have to arrange all sorts of permissions and badges and the like to get people in. So we're kind of limited to people who already have the right to be here. But as I say, it's a big pool of people in the first place, so it's not an issue. But yeah, I mean, given that we've got this nice suite of tables, it's a shame that we can't more readily share them with people that want to come and play on them. But we do try and organise things with them from time to time. And as I say, it's more a case of that when we want to play seriously, we'll go out into Geneva and go and meet with some of the guys there who have the P4P tables, and that's when we really get pushed and see a different level. Dave's still got his badge.
Yeah, I've got another one at the Frog. I've got 2 of these, but yeah, just FYI, I have been given one of these in the past. So.
Well, Switzerland, of course, Adam. I think you guys all know this. Table soccer is a recognised sport, right?
Indeed. Yeah, I think they were the first, if I remember rightly. Well, I think they were the first country to have that recognition.
The Iranians and the Luxembourgs, and yeah, but Switzerland's and they did so much work to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's funding you can get and stuff like that, but it's really cool.
No, it's impressive. It's impressive we've got that. I mean, who knows where it's going to be in 5-10 years time from now? But the momentum seems to be there. So it's very, as so many things over here, it's very well organised. They seem to have a very, very high level of organisation over here with all that. So good luck to those guys. And when normality resumes, I think we'll be making every effort to continue to get involved with them and push ourselves in that direction as well.
I know Switzerland also, they've kind of got the Swiss Germans play Garlando, the Swiss French, where you are, play P4P, the Swiss Italians play P4P. I don't know what P4P, I think P4P, I hear, has now put itself underneath the German Federation. So whether P4P will carry on in the old sense, I'm not sure, but I think the Ulrich table will carry on. Just let's see what happens after the pandemic. One of the things, Dave, I love it, you mentioned hen parties and kids parties, right? This is the future, is taking it out to just let people enjoy playing table. We've got these facilities, and obviously in your case, Adam, it's harder to do for outsiders, but how can we open it up? So Anglia Grove, where I'm involved in London, post-pandemic, I'm going to talk to Baz, who runs the snooker club, and say, how do we get the kids in? How do we have hen parties and kids parties and just open it up for people? I love it that you're doing that. And that's a sort of question to everyone out there watching, really, is to just think about that. Another thing I thought was really interesting, Dave, what you said is that I mean, this is a leading question as well. You're kind of giving different people different roles as you're heading towards a little bit of formality, because we, just like the BFA at the start, I said the BFA's got to incorporate and become some form of company, not-for-profit, legal organisation. And it's are you both sort of heading toward? Have you got Adam? Are you like a company or a not-for-profit? Are you registered somehow? Do you have a bank account? The same for Dave. How are you going to set yourselves up to operate in the future?
So yeah, I mean, I envy Adam's coin-operated tables. We operate a membership system, so people pay either for the year, for the month, or they can pay a £5 guest fee. So yeah, we've had to sort of, basically make sure that we're fairly kind of tight on that, and we make, it's like someone. It has to be somebody's job to make sure that they're sort of chasing someone for the money, which, you know, on a Friday night late doesn't always seem like something people necessarily want to do. So yeah, we've got a new sort of financial officer, which is who's Kata Felso. So she's made some really some good moves in the last couple of weeks. So she's going to be doing that role, and yeah, I'm already feeling pretty good about that. So yeah, it's just got to a point where we kind of had to sort of semi-formalize certain roles within the club, because, you know, like I might be the person who kind of, you know, would be most on people's case about that, but I'm not there all the time, or you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, we're sort of getting to a point where there's going to be sort of more clear-cut roles, so that the club can actually sort of run to its full potential, and so that we can look at growing the club in the future. Do you know what I mean?
And this is the sort of thing where we as a BFA, as a member of Sport and Recreation Alliance, there is loads of off-the-shelf stuff which we can just take and give you. In the UK, there's a legal organisation called CASC, Community Amateur Sports Club, which Joe Bundy has been telling me about in the last week. You know, if we can get that off the shelf, that might be the right thing for you guys to set yourself up, so you can have a bank account, so that people can put their money in, rather than it all being, you know, let's have a cash whip round and put it into someone's pocket, and help you to formalise yourself to the next level. Most other countries, in France or in Germany, that's how they run their clubs.
Sure.
You know, for Kat, who's watching, thinking about rugby in Nuneaton, for Albert, you know, we talked a bit about one day what Brighton might look like, Mike Russell in Chester, other guys watching, you know, just for us to think about how do we formalise our local clubs, so that we can grow them. And when you go and talk to the local authority, for example, and say if they want to give you some funding, that they'll look for that sort of formality.
I mean, yeah, essentially what we all want to be doing is playing foosball, you know, rather than dealing with foosball admin. So I think it's a case of making things as sort of smooth and straightforward as possible, you know, so that we can just get on and do what we love to do. Do you know what I mean? Rather than sort of, you know, getting headaches about how we run things or do this or that. You know, it's the more help we can get with that, the better. Do you know what I mean? I'm very positive about the help from, for example, Joe Bundy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as you said before, you alluded to before, Dave, the situation's a bit different here in that we're just fortunate that we're in a very public spot where the tables get used all the time by just people who are in the area and passing by. So we're less dependent on membership fees, therefore, to keep ourselves going, and we get our revenue through that instead. So I mean, in terms of what other people could consider on that basis, but I'm sure it's something that comes to everyone's mind, is, you know, if you have a possibility to put tables in a public area where you would get that foot flow of people who would, you know, generate revenue that way, but then you've also got the other side, is that things can get damaged and they're not necessarily taken care of in the same way if they're out there in public, and that's another headache to think about. But that's the benefit we have here, at least.
I'm going to put a question out to our audience, guys. If you've got any questions you want to ask Adam and Dave, I know we've got some. Dave Zeman had a comment on on the long table, Adam, that you had in your video.
Yeah, we could make it. It's fully circular, Dave. 27-kilometer long table. It connects.
Adam, don't tell Dave Zeman about. It's now going to keep him awake all night designing a circular table football table. Who else? Reese has got a comment about Albert's push kick. Yeah. So yeah, guys, any people watching? We've still got 20 people out there. Anyone else? Is Denzel de Souza, Bar Kick Bonzini Killer. Hi, Denzel. Nice to see you. Renata Chisek. Hi, Renata. Shouting out to you. Thanks for watching. Yeah, guys, if you've got any questions for Adam and Dave, I've got what I'll do actually. We've got a little bit of Man and Uzi. So this is just some film from which Dave sent me from. And what I like about this, I'll make sure I don't put the sound on when I put it up. It just shows you kind of, I think, what the vibe of a training club is all about. Let's see if this is going to work. Here we go. This is nice to watch some foosball while we chat. I will talk a bit about Man and Uzi actually. Yeah. So, guys, questions for Dave and Adam. My question is: do you do championships? Who are your champions? What do the competitions look like that you run in your club?
Adam.
Yeah, well, on our side, in terms of real competitive stuff, we have this annual tournament where we normally have 32 teams. This is the charity one I mentioned before. We normally time it in summer when we have a big population of summer students as well, who are always really keen to get involved. And we have like a trophy given out for that. And it's again a very fun tournament. It's not overly high level. I'd like to see some comments from Yannick, maybe if he's still watching, just on his woeful performance over the years of losing various finals, but including the last one to me. But no, it's really good fun, and also I think with those tournaments as well. You know, the people who are involved in the club, we try and step back a little bit as well. And we don't try and make sure we win all the time. It's important to get other people involved and give other people a chance. And we do DYP tournaments, maybe, or DYP evenings, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Just using the Kicker Tool app, which is great for stuff like that. If you just want to quickly put on a simple tournament, it's a great tool that we use. And then, as I mentioned before, if we want to get really serious, then the local guys in Geneva do very regular, I think, fortnightly DYPs as well. And you know, the guys playing there who played the Swiss national team and played in tournaments all over the world, very, very good standard. So I mean, that's a great opportunity if you really want to test yourself and get pushed. So that's what we tend to offer. But we don't have a huge number. We don't have like a league, or we talked about maybe doing a lunchtime league. But I think you've also got to balance it with the professional side as well. That you're at work, and I think it could be slightly career limiting if you're seen on the football table every day of the week trying to win a league. But
I think there's something really interesting you said about those amateur tournaments, because, you know, kind of go back to the start of our conversation. I said, tell us your memorable wins. And what your mind goes to is winning that amateur competition over that series of weeks. And it reminded me when we had Matthew Warr and Callum Oakes on a while back, who went on to be junior world champions. Actually, the tournament they remembered winning the most prior to all that stuff was winning an amateur tournament, which had got nobody from the UK foosball tournament there at all. It was just a local thing. And actually, so we've got to create safe places for people to go and have memorable amateur foosball that then brings you back later on if you want to. You know, you go to a youth centre and you go home. I talk about this a lot. You know, the girl who plays, a 12-year-old, goes home and shows her mum a silver medal. You know, mum might say, "That's great. Go back and get the gold next week." You know, so how do we make people have those safe, fun things? I love it. You're doing the amateur tournaments. And Monster DYP, I'm a massive fan of. We do them at Anglia Grove, and they're great. If you've got 12 people, you can do 11 rounds. Everyone's going to play with everyone else. So we had a guy called Kareem came, who's an Algerian, complete beginner, and he had a fantastic time because, you know, his first game he's playing with Steve Long, who's an unbelievably good player, Team GB captain. The next game he's playing with me. So you've got to get through play with me. And the next game he's playing with the other beginner who's coming. And so he gets to play it. So Monster DYP is just a fantastic way of mixing everyone up.
Yeah,
I love it.
Another thing we do from time to time is that we get a couple of a handful of the better players from Geneva will very kindly volunteer their time and come over and do like a bit of a coaching session, a bit of exhibition, and we give it a bit of publicity in the run up, and that's always very well received as well. That's always good fun.
You've got your comments coming from Yannick.
Yeah, revenge is coming, I'm sure.
And Mike Russell, I love what Mike's put here about Uzi. Uzi, for guys who don't know, on the left is Man Arslan, Usman, Uzi Ahmed on the right. Yeah, we're going to get Man and Uzi on. Man, if you're out there, I know you just had a baby. Just 2 really talented players who kind of came out of nowhere about 3 years ago. Boris Ather ran a Bonzini tournament, and not many people turned up. And Man and Uzi, who didn't really come to anything before, won it. You know, I think they were beginners in the UK rankings. It's the only time beginners have won an ITSF tournament, and they are both, you know, they were good anyway. But they're just, you've got so many good players, Dave, in your club anyway.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that Man is. I don't want to offend any of the players, but for me, Man is the best player in our club. He's very, very complete player, and I think when he gets the chance to compete in more competitions, I think he's going to be kicking some serious ass when he gets a little bit more experience. But in terms of what he can do on the table, he's so insanely complete. He's like he has this encyclopedia in his head, and he's able to access it very calmly and coolly. Uzi is like, you know, I would say he plays the hardest. He's like almost still a little bit raw. But he's just so fast and so capable, and he's just absolutely full of potential. And Uzi's only, I think he's 22 years old. So, I see Uzi being a top player, you know, if he wants to be. And Man's already kind of on that road. So, yeah, they're both great players. We're very lucky in the club because you had you know, there's a basis there with players like Les Jones, Benj, Richard. There's a whole, you know, Stuart. There's a whole crew of the older generation in Manchester that are all kind of have quite a lot to offer. Eddie is another one. But then you've got like George Eade is fantastic, and you know, such a big personality in our club. You've got Dave Pulcini, who again now is just such a good competitor. Catafel, so you know, we've got like all of these guys, you know, who are like very, very capable, and so that the standard is very, very high in our club. And I feel very lucky that I get to learn from being around such top players. Yeah.
And I'd love it if, you know, you can, you know, as you said, you've got so many sort of iconic players. Really, can you imagine if you went out around Manchester and started to? There are so many youth centres. There are so many kids out there. So many people who want to get into football. Suddenly, you know, you go from like the 10 to 24 people, and that suddenly turns into 200 people. Yeah, that's just cool. We've got some comments. Cat,
I mean, yeah.
There you go. Cat loves the way Man plays. Cat loves Kata. Good teacher. Man, what have you got? Yeah, congratulations from Reese for your baby. Sorry, go on, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of done. I could talk all night about these people, you know.
I played in the Chester tournament, and it was the first time I played against both of them. It was a tournament on Garlando, and yeah, I did quite well, and I was still going in open singles, and I'd never played man before, and I lost 3-0 on pull kicks, and it was almost like, you know, could you do it again? Because I enjoyed being, you know, no one wrecks you with a pull kick that much, and man got two different things. Go on.
Oh man, like he'll do like a pull shot from the far man. Like he'll just do that if he fancies it. If he's in the mood for that, he'll do that.
Yeah,
he's got like a whole series of that and dinks. You know, it depends what he's in the mood for. He's got a killer snake. His pin shot is fantastic. You know, like I say, he's very, very complete. He's definitely better than you at whatever your shot is. You know, he'll be able to teach you a whole bunch of stuff about that. And he's got like, you know, like a whole bunch of shots that he can do depending on what he's in the mood for. He concentrates now mainly on the snake, but his pull shot is fast, like really, really fast. So yeah, he's next level, man. He's a serious player, and you know, I think now he's up to like top 5, or I think he's number 6 now in the UK. The rankings obviously are you know, perhaps not where they should be because we've just had a year out. You know, so I'm pretty sure, you know, that there'll be no reason why they shouldn't be taking him for Team GB. You know, like he's right up there. So yeah, I'm looking forward.
He won our last tournament, well, the ITS tournament a year ago. He won open doubles with what's the fella, Dovidas from Lithuania.
Yeah, I mean, we've like I say, we're very fortunate to have some top players, and I think you're going to see quite a lot from us once we come back to compete, and I'm very much excited about things that are happening in the club.
There you go, Mike Russell. That little dink he does is class. The way he grins afterwards is great.
I think I remember being the Frog once playing against Man, and I was slightly worse for wear, and I think he just kept hitting me with the dink over and over and over again, like just absolutely toying with me. It was a painful one.
Yeah, I mean, we had Ryan Moore in the Frog once, and he was hitting me with his John Wayne again and again and again, and on the, you know, just playing a John Wayne on Bonzini, and I was like, yeah, okay, kept falling for that.
Tell us a bit about Dave. About the Frog is your restaurant, right? Your cafe, your place, and you had a Bonzini in there. How did that work as a foosball place?
Kind of like, so, you know, like a sign on the wall, like if you want to play Dave, you can eat for free, you know, with your wife or whatever. So I had a few challenges on that. Essentially, the reason I did that challenge was not because I'm like you know, big-headed or whatever. It was more because if there's a good table football player, I want to know about them. Do you know what I mean? If there's someone who can play, I want to meet them. So I had a couple of guys beat me. One guy shouldn't have beaten me. I had a really bad hangover. Not that I'm making excuses. But the other guy was
some microchips or something.
There's a French guy whose number I probably still have, who I've not spoken to for a few years, but a French guy who beat me, who was pretty handy. as a Bonzini player. And yeah, so I got beaten a couple of times in that deal. But yeah, the table used to be like, you know, Friday, Saturday nights, you'd get kind of people getting a bit giddy, would want to play. Every now and then we'd have a night where we did a tournament one time, like Callum came down. One
ears open for the door.
Is he here?
I'm saying keep your ears open.
Sorry, I've got a Chinese that's about to arrive. So Manny, who's my housemate, is just warning me to listen out for it.
Live TV.
Right. Okay. All right. So yeah, I might have to duck out. But yeah, so basically, Callum Oates came up for that competition, and we had all the top guys from Manchester were there, and so we'd done that a couple of times. But yeah, we had the Bonzini. So we had the ITSF Bonzini in there for a while, and then when we opened the club, we moved that Bonzini over there, and then I bought an old B60, which I moved on at the start of lockdown last year because once we came back. Because we didn't have the space inside, so because we had to move the tables around and stuff. So I moved that table on, and I'd sort of been looking to get rid of it anyway, because do you know what? I don't want to play Bonzini anymore. Like,
yeah, that was a particularly old one as well. That was a bit more ornamental value than
the table was 40 years old, and it was one of those where all the players are white. Those old Bonzinis. So yeah, the table. It was time for it to move on, and now so I've just got a Tornado for the Frog. So we've got a T3000 in there now. So I'm going to be able to keep that in there until sort of September, October. When I'm going to need the space inside, and then I'll probably keep it at my house over the winter, and then back in the spring. So. Yeah, I'm sort of looking to have a table in the Frog as much as possible for sort of half the year is the plan at the moment. My Chinese has just arrived. I'm just going to go and pay the guy.
Where you go and get your Chinese, Adam? I want to ask you. At the start you told us about you took the whole of CERN TFC to Spain for the World Cup.
Yeah,
we just had your T-shirts were everywhere. Wherever I went, there's like that was a really cool thing to do. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, it was on the radar for a while, and I went to Hamburg in 2017 just with my wife and my son. So after having had that experience, I was like, right, I'm going to do this. Whenever there's a World Cup from now on, I'm going to go along because I just enjoyed it so much. And obviously, once the club got set up, it was the natural thing to try and get a bit of a team together to go over there and just enjoy it and just to see what was happening. And thankfully, yeah, we got a pretty big group, and it was largely thanks to the fact that CTFC stalwart, a guy called Miguel, his family originated from Murcia as well, so we had basically a lot of local knowledge and local contacts thanks to him, and he helped hugely in organising all that. So that was just an absolute pleasure. I think the only downside was the heat, because it was absolutely unbearably hot the whole time. But other than that, it was an absolute a joy to be there. So yeah, we had a big gang over for that one.
There's a whole new category of, foosball tourism. We know about, go and play in tournaments, and Dave, I want to hear a bit about your experiences, but just going to watch a tournament, I think that's just really cool.
Well, exactly. But again, this like kind of speaks to the thing we said before about different people who are part of the club, who have different, things that they want to get out of it. So a big proportion of that gang, that they went to the tournament maybe one day of 3 that we were there, and the rest they were there just to have a nice long weekend. So it's not all about the table football for them, but it's still a large part of it. So it's nice to have that blend as well.
It felt like a big deal.
Go on, Dave.
When they turned up on the last day of the World Cup or whatever, it felt like a pretty big deal that like the CERN Table Football Club had just landed, and there was so many of them. I'd just been watching a couple of days before, I forget the timeline again, but George and the Dave Zeman, all the British seniors guys, and what they did against America and the Dutch and all that stuff, that's all happening. And then, suddenly you got the CERN crew are turning up, and that's like a whole other thing. It was like, yeah, it was really cool, man. Murcia was a lot of fun, I think. I think it's incredible you managed to bring so many people over for that.
Yeah, it was good fun. But I mean, in that situation, though, it's important that we don't let anybody see us play, though, because then they realise how awful we all are. But anyway, that's another point.
Listen, if you've got a T-shirt, then you're a club. Do you know what I mean?
And Dave, I mean, you mentioned earlier you've gone overseas to a few. We had a little screenshot of your afterglow from Denmark. I think you mentioned you played Leonhardt Worlds. You played P4P. I think you've been to Florida as well to play there. So tell us a bit about your experiences on the roads.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with Florida. Florida was cool, man. So just before lockdown last year, I'd sort of, I'd had like a winter that was like, I wasn't really that happy going into the start of the winter, 2019. So I decided that I was going to take a month and I was going to do a lot of foosball. So I booked a trip to Budapest for the Hungarian Masters or whatever it's called at the start of February. Then I had the Florida States end of Feb, and then I had the Geneva Open. So I had 3 tournaments on 3 different tables lined up over that month. Florida was really special. Really lovely people over there. And I sort of liked that I went out there by myself. And then obviously, like, you know, Rob Athers over there, and he took the time to call me and sort of, you know, see if I needed anything or whatever. He was like sat on the beach with like all the top boys like Billy Pappas or whatever. And he's like, oh, you know, I know you're here. Do you need anything? I was like, no, listen, I'm fine. You crack on. But it's really nice that he called me. And yeah, I just, you know, when you go to a tournament and you just, you know, because at that point I was still smoking. So you're outside just chatting to people the whole time. And I made so many nice new friends. So that was incredible. I didn't play badly. I sort of like felt like at that point my 5 bar, something clicked, and suddenly I was like able to beat people. And I was kind of no one else at that tournament was playing a pin shot really. So people were kind of a little bit like, you know, it's like, you know, since Collignon was last there, they hadn't really heard of that. So yeah, it was, I had a lot of fun. And I got a game on the big table, you know, like one of the tables on camera. And it was about midnight. And I've been sat at the bar with this guy, you know, like I met this guy from the back of nowhere, like this like mad dude. And he was only there because he worked for a furniture company with his boss, and his boss was a foosball player, and he sort of got dragged along for the ride from somewhere like South Carolina or whatever. So me and him are sat at the bar drinking bourbon, and like I'm smashed. And like I just heard my name go, and I'd signed up to another category. There's a girl called Erin Trump. And she's incredible. Like, she's a really cool girl. So I got drawn with her on the DYP on the first day. And then on the second day, she's like, hey, do you want to play this category? God knows what the category was. And so I was like, yeah, cool. So that the next thing, it's like midnight, and I'm on like one of the top tables. So I know my game's going to be on TV or on YouTube or whatever it was. And we played these guys, and everything just was perfect and clicked in, and everything came together. So yeah, that was a really incredible game, and we beat these people. And for the next game, we didn't do so good. But it's one of them, you suddenly have to get a ref for everything. The guy's jarring like crazy. And in America, they're very relaxed on the rules, I noticed. So, you know, people are just wearing whatever they want, you know what I mean? And no one's like, you know, it's not like in Germany or something where it's a bit more strict. But like, yeah, people are just jarring like crazy. And it's like, you know, they've never heard of the ITSF, a lot of these guys. You know what I mean? It was like that sort of, you know, very kind of different atmosphere, but like really incredible. I was very, like really happy that I made that move to like to go and play these different tournaments just before lockdown. So I got back from Florida, I'm straight to Geneva, and before that I just got back from Hungary, you know. So yeah, I enjoy very much going in. There's people you always see at these competitions who seem to go to everything. You know, I think that's, if you want to improve as a player, I think go to a few tournaments in a short period of time, and then you really do. You know what I mean? Like someone like, you know, there's players like Mariam Ali, who's like, she's always at everything, you know, and I imagine that she's a much better player for always being there. Do you know what I mean? There's like certain players who you know are just putting the hours in at competitions, because I think like if you're going to go and play for 3 days, 4 days, and you're playing for like 8 hours or 10 hours a day, of course you're going to be better than you were before. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so there's a lot of experience in that.
That was the best advert ever for getting on the road and going. That was the best advert ever for foosball, Dave. That's fantastic.
Good.
And you know, that's what we all can't wait for. You know, it's interesting. We've all been at home for 12 months, right? Some people have had tables, some people haven't. And when we all get back together, it's going to be really interesting to see what everyone's game looks like. And when they're just for those who are looking forward going to go Orlando Worlds, they just cancelled that today, by the way.
Can I just take the opportunity to plug the Man Bites Frog Open, which is coming sort of together quite nicely, which is going to be a multi-table event at Man Bites Frog. It's because the Orlando Worlds are being cancelled, and maybe the P4P is around a similar sort of time. So we'll see whether they can do that. But I'm hoping to have a fairly captive audience of British players who really want to come to Manchester and take part in my weird Frankenstein tournament on all these different tables. So yeah, we're going to be doing something in July. I don't have a date yet. I'm going to see what our guys favour and work around that, the guys up here. But I'm very, very hoping that the people from London will come, and from everywhere in the UK who wants to play. Everyone's welcome, and we're going to put on a bit of a show at Man Bites Frog. So I just wanted to.
You won't lack people wanting to come. You'll be swamped.
That's the spirit, Will.
That's for sure. Yeah. Someone, Eddie, asked me yesterday. He said, "Hey, Stretch." He always calls me Stretch. Hey, Stretch. when we playing tournaments, I can't do Eddie's voice. I said, "Good, we'll do it when the government lets us." But yeah, all being well, not before June the 21st. It's cool that we've got plans for July. I know some other people I've been talking to, got plans up their sleeves as well. So hopefully, when we've all been jabbed and the government lets us out, we've got loads of football waiting for us.
Yeah, I think that's really something to look forward to. I spoke to Eddie very briefly yesterday. He told me that he was having his jab. I think he was having his jab in some sort of car park last night at 7 o'clock. So yeah, I need to actually speak to Eddie on the phone and see how he's doing. But yeah, he's still going, which is the important thing.
He's still got his jokes.
Hope not. Yeah.
So my last question, I've been enjoying Man of the Year. That was just a bit of fun to watch. My last question then, guys, is like, what's both for you as players and for your clubs, give us a bit about what your ambition is, what you see the future looking like.
I think for me that the thing I'd like to do most is figure out a way of opening it up a bit more to the outside world, and getting some of the more local guys and the guys from further afield to be able to come down and play regularly. Use tables that aren't found as regularly in Switzerland and in the region. We're in the process of building a new kind of welcome centre at CERN, a big outreach and education centre, which will have a restaurant and everything. So I've got kind of an ambition to maybe see if we could explore that, depending on whether it will be open all the time. But that could be one avenue. But that's what I'd really like to do, because we've got a really nice thing going on here, but it's always going to be limited to the characteristic it has now. So if we could maybe get it open a bit more, then that would be the dream, really.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, my challenge is, I suppose, is trying to keep giving the players, the good players, an opportunity and somewhere good to play, and marrying that with making the place accessible for new players to come. So yeah, it's tricky, but it's not impossible, and it's a nice challenge to have. I just feel grateful that we have the space that we've got, and we've got the tables we've got, and the enthusiasm we've got. So there's no problem. Do you know what I mean? It's all positive. So we're looking to bring in new guys, and if anyone wants to get competitive, they're welcome to do so. But we also need to sort of keep it fun and kind of make it so that people want to come back when we get some new players. And I've got a few. I've got a list. I've got a albeit quite a small list, but I have a list now of people who want to come and who want to get involved. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
I think one of the things we talked about is beginners, right? How do you, it's a question to me doing Anglia Grove in London. How do we do beginners stuff? How do we do, if Friday night is pro night, Tuesday night is just that fun night, so people can come and have fun. And you talked a bit also about coaching. You said Man's a great coach, and that's a little plug for something we're going to try and do this year. We want to develop a coaching program. So just like you might have heard me say this before, in tennis, who's making money in tennis? Sure, Roger Federer's making a lot of money, but actually most money in tennis is made by tennis coaches who are teaching, yummy mummies on a Tuesday morning. They're teaching a load of 11-year-old children, they rock up and they do, I don't know, £15 an hour or whatever. So how can we actually enable people in our foosball community to go and do a bit of coaching? And whether that's at a school or a company or whatever. So you can make a little bit of money and have a bit of fun as well, in the right way. So that's something we're going to look at doing. So just to add a different dimension to our lives, so we can play more foosball and maybe.
I think we need to get a bit mobile, Will. Do you know what I mean? We need to we need to get mobile, have tables that we can take to places and do cool stuff with, and if you've got a bunch of mums who want to play foosball on a Tuesday morning, do you know what? I'll be there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing is I've just moved a table today. Through a guy I've just met, and every time I move a table, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And I'm sure everyone who moves tables, like someone like Boris, who must have moved 50,000 tables in his life or whatever, he's like, God, I'm not doing that anymore. But I just want to get to a point where we go, do you know what? We have to do that. We have to go into places with tables and do stuff.
Yeah,
because I always expect them to come to us. So there's a lot of work to be done, and unfortunately there is some lifting to be done, and we have to just sort of have the enthusiasm going forward to be able to do that, and find these new avenues. And I'm really grateful that eventually, after decades of looking for like-minded weirdos, we're finally sort of that we are sharing ideas about what we do, and I think there's a lot of positivity in that.
I love the like-minded weirdos thing. I did think that myself as well. It's really nice. We're a bunch of things. It's interesting you talked about the mums on Tuesday morning. I probably talked about this one again before. Some of you heard this. Ping pong parlors. England table tennis have got 50 odd in shopping centres. They go into an empty retail unit, they stick in table tennis tables, and people can go and play table tennis when they go shopping. Guess what? More than 50% of the people playing in a ping pong parlour are women. And the shopping centre love it because they've got an occupied unit and they get a reduction on their business rates. It's really popular. Local authorities are funding seniors programs in there as well. So, and the England table tennis are quite happy for us to put foosball tables in the ping pong parlours, because I asked them and they said yes. We just need a bit of coordination at some point when all this pandemic's over, of course, to go out and find tables lying around that aren't being used by anyone. Let's go and put them in. And by the way, I'll get the shopping centre to pay for the delivery, set them up, and then people can go and play and we can help them have fun with it. So,
brilliant. Yeah. Are they, Will, do they have like table tennis players down there in that space, or is it just a table, or how does it work?
It's literally it's 3 tables, 72 balls, 24 bats. There you are, guys. Get on with it. And I'm sure that the local table tennis club will go and they might do a coaching session on a Saturday morning for kids because they'll be interested as well. But then the main thing is it's just a facility, and actually it's also really popular if the mums want to drop the kids off on a Saturday morning, because the kids will play table tennis and the mum can go and clear out TJ Maxx. Speaking of my wife, she loves TJ Maxx, and I'm going to do this in Hatfield Galleria, which is my up the road place I want to go to. Let's find places which want tables, because I always say that wherever all of us are sitting, if you're in a city, guys, within 500 meters of you, there's a football table somewhere. They're just everywhere. They're ubiquitous. It might be a crappy thing from Argos for £49. I mean, someone contacted us the other day and said, my 8-year-old son loves table football. Can you give him a program? Can you help him go up? We're so into it. So we're going to go and try and get a table into his school and do a schools program. So
this is it. Like, train stations, like you go through Piccadilly at 5 o'clock on a Friday. It's like there's thousands of people just stood around doing nothing. It's like, why haven't we got tables in there? Do you know what I mean? Like there must be something.
And coin is dead. I spoke to the guy who imports Garlando coin-op tables, Stan McKenna, this week, and he said we're never going to sell coin-op tables. It's just dead. Jeff Bryce, who runs the Table Football Centre, putting coin-op tables in sixth forms. Again, kids don't have coins anymore, so it all has to be free play. And free, the idea of, and also the other thing is, of course, the phones, right? I could.
Yeah, they're bound to get to that point, though, surely, eventually, where they have, contactless and phones and the like to pay for it as well.
I've had that conversation as well. We're trying to find we need someone who's got electrics inside the table, which Leonhardt do.
Leonhardt, definitely, yeah, they do.
Yeah, it's twisting the manufacturers a little bit, but I think it will come. Pool tables do it, and it was going very well for pool. So, yeah. Stuff for us to figure out. I'm sort of watching the time, guys. I know we've been going for a long time. Any questions out there? Any more thoughts from the guys watching? We got a question from Katarzyna Majowska. Wants to know what a John Wayne shot was. Dave.
So John Wayne is it's like you have it in the sort of, I suppose, like in a. I think that Ryan Moore would have it set up in a pull shot position. And then you sort of, you're waiting for him to go and do the long or whatever else. And instead of doing that, he just moves the player over and then he hits it with the far man. So that is a John Wayne. I presume it's called a John Wayne because the legs are sort of far apart or something like that. In that sort of weird limp thing that John Wayne does when he walks. I don't know. That's just speculation. But yeah, if you YouTube Ryan Moore, John Wayne, I think Ryan Moore is like the foremost, John Wayne dude, as far as I know.
CTFC's Yannick Body also has a pretty mean John Wayne that he regularly gets me with as well. So just to give him a shout.
It's a
cool
bit of a
shot.
Green shout, isn't it? It's a bit French or Belgian.
It's got that sort of vibe. It's a bit cheeky. Do you know what I mean? Like David Pulcini might call you a cheeky boy if you did it. Do you know what I mean? It's got that sort of edge to it.
Guys, it's just been really cool having you hanging out with us on a Sunday night. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Will. It's nice to talk about it after a year of doing very little. It's let's just hope we're back to normality sooner rather than later.
I hope for our fans watching, we've still got 17 people out there. If you guys, hopefully this is like your little bit of inspiration to say in Chester, in Rugby, in Brighton, in Buffalo, wherever you are, guys. How do I take my club up to the next level? Some of the stories Adam's told us, some of the stories Dave's told us, just because a bit of inspiration. I'm looking forward to the hen parties.
Well, on a serious note as well, Will, if any table football players are ever in the region here, feel free to drop me a note, and we can very easily organise visitor passes. CERN's a very open place, and you can do the whole science tour. And if you want a game as well, you're welcome to have a game anytime.
We've got some more explanations on the John Wayne coming in. Apparently, it's a big leggy for those over 40, and we got some respect from Kat, inspired by listening to you guys. Reese also thanking us for the show. Cool, guys, and I'll just say, really, I'll just see you on the table eventually. We'll all get to play.
Let's hope so.
Great, yeah. Thanks for having us on, Will. Massively appreciate it.
If you guys stick on, I'll close the feed. We've got some more respect coming in. Kat hanging out with us, having a pint. Yep, I've got loads lined up more. It's just a matter of me getting around to making them happen. Reese is plugging Foos Talk live at 1 o'clock for those who are going to be.
It was 2 o'clock that show.
Time difference in America now.
Time difference in London.
Yeah.
And don't forget new series of Line of Duty tonight as well on BBC One, everybody.
Oh my God, I love that show, man.
We're getting all the respect coming in now. Mike Cohen, good show. Dave Zeman, thanks a nice show. So I'll close the feed. Dave and Adam will have our post-show party.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'll say goodbye to the guys on Facebook. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.